LA Democrats are so incompetent that the county is moving right. I, I can't believe this. LA is starting to move right, but you can't blame them. The leftists, the Democrats, the progressive, the crazy wokey wokes, um, the ideologues, the people pushing identity politics have destroyed a once beautiful, thriving city. So it's LA. We seeing it in Chicago now. A lot of these leftist strongholds are starting to go a little bit right, a little bit conservative now because they're watching their cities be destroyed, literally. So we gonna talk about it, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from Hot Air, and they report that KABC's John Phillips summarizes how politics usually works in Los Angeles. He says, LA's version of ideological diversity is a healthy mix of left wingers, far left nut jobs, and Nithya Raman. I don't know who that is. Sorry, I killed that name. But this lopsided political arrangement means that it doesn't matter how incompetently the local officials responded to the fires that ravaged the city, because there are never any consequences for Democrats from city voters, which has been true. No water in the reservoir, that's global warming. Forgot to tell the fire department there's no water in the reservoir, file that under global warming is worse than you think. Sure, none of it makes sense, but for a highly partisan audience like LA voters, it was always good enough. It's good enough until it's not. The performance of California officials to these recent wildfires uh, has awful. So recent fires has awful. I guess he meant to say was awful. So much so that the careers of several politicians appear to hand in the balance. Chief among them, LA Mayor's Karen Bass. A poll released last weekend shows that people are so angry with Bass's performance, they are considering the unthinkable, voting for a Republican. Again, we're starting to see this right shift because the left have destroyed things so bad that people even a lot of liberals are like, you know what, I'm done with the Democrat Party. They no longer represent us. They're destroying everything. We're seeing it. But a new Madison McQueen poll released over the weekend found that only 37% of Los Angeles voters now approve of Mayor Bass's wildfire response. A majority, 54% of residents, disapprove of the job Bass is doing with the fires, with 9% remaining undecided. Another question in the poll asked residents who they would vote for in a Bass Caruso mayoral rematch if it was held today, with Caruso beating Bass 43% to 36%. That should be way worse than that, I believe, but with 21% remaining undecided. However, the most embarrassing question was the last one, asking the residents if they would now consider Republican leadership in Los Angeles. 43% said yes. Wow. 46% said no, and 11% were unsure, with 43% being the highest for the GOP in the city in decades. Quote, rather than follow predictable partisan patterns, voters in LA are fed up with the failure and are demanding more competence from the elected officials, said President Madison McQueen Owen Brennan on Friday. Clearly, there is an opportunity for new leadership, new ideas, and a new direction for Los Angeles. Across LA County, most voters say fire hydrants running dry should be a cause for political leaders to lose their jobs. Obviously, right? And voters also blame one party rule for the lack of sufficient water storage. That's true because the Democrats will never be held accountable. If you think that you would never be held accountable, you would do whatever the hell you want to do. Um, Governor Newsom hasn't fared much better despite going all out to defend himself politically. There is already a recall effort being launched against him. A new recall effort against Governor Newsom began officially on Thursday in Los Angeles with members of Saving California, the main group behind the recall, announcing and collecting signatures for their notice of intent to recall. Several recall efforts have been mounted against Newsom since he was sworn in as governor in 2019. That's what I don't understand. This is not the first time they recalled this man. How is he still in office? The most successful attempt to date came in 2021, where organizers collected enough signatures to place the recall on the ballot. However, Newsom managed to defeat the recall in September of that year with 7.9 million voting against the recall and 4.9 million voting for it. And this is why we're in the well, not we, because I'm not in California, but this is why they are in the predicament that they're in. They continue to vote for this idiocracy. But if the vote were held again today, it's much less likely Newsom would survive. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that. It's California. I wouldn't put anything past them. But the same group says it is working on a possible recall for Mayor Bass. A change.org petition demanding her recall has already gathered 166,000 signatures. California is a long way from turning red, I agree, but there's no mistaking that over the last few years, voters have let some leftist politicos know that being on Team Blue isn't enough anymore. Well, I think they need. I think it's going to be a couple. They need they're going to need at least one more terrible leftist governor to destroy Chicago. Chicago. I got Chicago on my mind. To destroy California more. They need at least one more. I think leftist governor before they come to their senses. LA. I think they got two more maybe. Leftist, terrible Democrat mayors before they decide to start voting red or voting Republican. I don't see it happening anytime soon. I think they're going to continue to double down on this craziness. But voters in the northern part of the state recalled DA Shea Bowden, DA Pamela Price, Mayor Sheng Tao, and 3 members of San Francisco School Board. Voters in SoCal just voted out left-wing DA George Gascon. That's true. They are doing those things, but they're putting Democrats, more leftists, back in that same position. So nothing really changes. That's my point. There are limits to what people, even California Democrats, are willing to put up with. Mayor Karen Bass may have exceeded those limits this month. Yeah, I can see them getting rid of her, but I don't see them putting I don't know, no time soon do I see them putting a Republican, anyone with an R next to their name, anywhere near the governor's or the mayor's mansion. I don't see it happening. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.